Kara and I would like to introduce ourselves. I'm Liz Boucher, this is Kara Meeker, and we are your Zone B school board representatives, so wards 5, 6, and 7. We're also joined with Barb Higgins tonight, too, an at-large representative. We want to thank you so much for coming out on this evening at dinner time, nonetheless. And we look forward to hearing your questions and appreciate all of your support for this project.
So, unlike some of our board meetings, we're going to kind of keep this moving, and we're going to respect everyone's time. Thank you for that. And we're going to try to keep everything to under an hour. We're going to do a couple of brief presentations up front. HMFH is going to give you an overview of where the project is at right now. Harvey Construction is going to go over some construction timelines. We're going to talk, I'm sure some of you are here to talk about your curiosities about the new traffic patterns that are associated with the new school. And then we're going to open it up to you guys. This is a community meeting. This is an opportunity for you to talk about your questions, concerns, curiosities, and we're here to listen. So the board members are here just to observe and to get your perspective. We have very knowledgeable people all throughout the room that are here to answer your questions as best they can. And then I believe Barb is going to be our microphone passer, so she is going to be the one to bring you the microphone so that everyone can hear your questions clearly. And with that, I want to turn it over to Superintendent Tim Herbert.
Thank you. I'm going to have Barb real quick just go over the format this evening because we're trying to be efficient and ensure that we give people time for their questions. We have a few norms that we're just setting at the start of this.
Right, so I'm Barb. I'm an at-large rep for the school board. I know lots of you in here, so. So this is the kind of meeting that we wish we could have more of. Real question answer. Everyone gets to share their thoughts, ask questions. We can answer to the best of our ability. It's hard sometimes as a board member to have to sit with my mouth shut and not be able to respond. So I'm excited for this. I'm glad that we're doing this. So basically the purpose of the meeting is to share information about the project, specifically how it will impact people living next door to this piece of property. So streets that abut the property are our biggest focus tonight. The meeting format is question answer, so there'll be a bit of a presentation and then it will really be question answer. I'll do my best Bob Barker and run around with my microphone and make sure you all get to ask your questions and get some answers. Like we do in school board meetings, 3 minutes or so per question. We'll try to answer as quickly and succinctly. We can't vote or change on anything tonight, but it's becoming very clear to all of us involved in this project that there's a lot of questions that we need to answer before we make definitive decisions, and that's what tonight is about. So we will keep track of all the questions and all the answers and really move forward with trying to figure out what the best solution is to a lot of the concerns. And then, of course, be nice to each other. Sometimes I get crabby and bad things come out of my mouth, but what we want to do tonight is just really keep it focused on concerns, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, and how we can look at things differently if we need to. Does that sound good? Mm-hmm. All right.
Thank you, everybody. So with that being said, we have a series of experts here with us tonight. And first, I'm going to invite up Holly Miller and Bob Williams from HMFH to go over a brief presentation on the middle school project.
Can you hear me?
Keep it right near your mouth.
Great. Okay, so I'm Holly Miller. I'm the design lead from HMFH Architects. I'm going to give you a very brief overview of the building, mostly focused on the exterior of the building. This is the agenda for this evening, which I think Tim just went over. This is a view to the entry of the new school. The new school is going to be built to the west of the existing school, basically on the location of the existing athletic fields. The building is being designed to be net zero, meaning it is going to produce as much energy as it, it is being designed to be net zero, which means it's going to produce as much energy as it uses. It has solar panels on the roof and geothermal well fields on the back side of the building. The building is predominantly 2 stories. There is a 3-story wing, which is the academic wing, which faces south. This is a view from the new athletic fields, looking back towards the entry of the school. The academic portions are on the left. There are some administrative offices and student support spaces in the middle. You can see the glassy piece in the middle is the entrance. There's one main entrance for the school, so students arriving in a car or in a bus all will come to this one single point of entry. And the media center you can see is on the right side. This is a view from the north side of the site, looking into the cafeteria courtyard. On the left side are music spaces and the theater, and on the right side is our classrooms and the gymnasium. Now, you can also see in the foreground, this is the media as well. This is a site plan. You can see dashed in the middle, there is, can you see my cursor moving? Well, number 2 in the middle of the site, that is the footprint of the existing school. So the new school is being built to the east. The existing driveway that separates Abbott Downing from Runlet School remains roughly in the same location. That is the parent drop-off, and the main parking lot is accessed from that parent drop-off. Students get dropped off at number 11 and proceed to the entry, which is sort of in the middle of the building on the east side. There's a secondary parking lot to the north, which is primarily for faculty. And item number 6 is the bus drop-off. There is a service road around the west side of the building that will be gated to prohibit access. And the gate will only be open for deliveries or emergencies. We have a short animation. This is coming up the entry drive looking towards the entrance of the school. In the foreground here, you'll see the parking area. There is potentially some solar parking canopies. What you're seeing there to the left, those are the 3 academic wings that are 3 stories. So that's the 3-story part of the building. And now we're swinging around towards the entrance. There's a covered walkway that brings you to the one single entrance. What you see on the left there are kind of student support spaces, counselors' offices, nurses' suites. Sorry, this is glitching a little bit. We're swinging around and looking at the main entry, which is the glassy piece in the center with the canopy above it, and then to the right is the media center. And on the far right is the band room. Now we're swinging around to the north. It's a little slow here. To the north, there is a courtyard outside of the cafeteria. Music spaces are to the left, arts to the right. And then the gymnasium is on the 2nd floor above the loading dock. This is the service drive and the loading area. Now we're swinging back to the 3 academic blocks. The building is predominantly brick with a metal roof. And we do have some accents with brick patterning and a couple different colors of brick to give it a little life. And now we're dropping it back down to the main entrance. And that's all I have. I'm going to hand it over to Harvey Construction to talk about construction traffic and schedule.
Good evening, my name. Hi there. Good evening, my name is Keith Kelly. I'm Vice President and Director of Pre-Construction and Planning for Harvey. We are your hired construction manager for the project. I've personally been involved for coming up on 2 years since we were selected and went through that process to help get us to this point from a insight, schedule, and planning standpoint. I don't have any fancy movies or anything. They're really just simple graphics. And what we're going to talk about is the anticipated construction schedule, short-term, long-term, and then traffic patterns while we're under construction. On your handouts, you saw some milestone dates relative to construction. The first 4 dates represent, we're going to start with references to mobilization. April 27th is the target right now. That means we'll be on site. That doesn't mean that's when the bulldozers show up, but it means that we're present here. Construction fence preparing the property. There are some activities such as ground improvements, if those have been following this project. The soils need to be improved. You do that by basically ramming aggregate stone into the ground to make it better. That is going to take upwards of 12 weeks. That is part of the initial process here over the summer. And then in earnest, I would say by the fall, we're going to start seeing some heavy machinery and things relative to the construction. The new building is going to go until November of 28, so just over 2 years, at which point the school would be opened and we would then come over here to take this building down to build the fields. Then we would build the fields through 29, and then the fields, because they're grass and not synthetic, need a year of growth and mowing and maintenance before they can be played on. So that puts you up to about 2030 for them to be available. Excuse me. So the other dates on the bottom are really activity date driven, so that's why they have a start and a stop. Essentially those tie up to the 4 dates that I just read off to you. We looked at traffic patterns, in particular with the tight roads in the neighborhood, and chose 2 different routes to come in. One, whether it be, here we go. This gives you a good view of 9389 and exit 1 and exit 2, which would mostly be utilizing. Here's exit 1, here's exit 2, Clinton Street, and essentially coming in along those major thoroughfares to get to either Conant off of South or Norwich off of Clinton. And then that would bring us into the construction site, which the construction entrance is actually going to be just over here to the right at the base of the fields along the entrance drive. Which part? The construction entrance? So I'll get there in just a second. This is zooming in at exit 2. You can see Clinton Street now a little bit clearer, coming down Clinton, down Clinton to Norwich into Conant. You can see where the blue and red lines emerge. This is showing exit 1, and now there's a little blow up of the area. So we are sitting essentially right there. So the entrance is going to be just off here to the right, off of Conant. This is not going to be all day, every day. This is really major traffic relative to deliveries. Construction workers obviously take smaller vehicles, things like that. They'll be finding their way, and most of that, if not all of that parking, will happen within the confines of the construction site. So we won't have those street parking or anything like that associated with the worker parking. This is really truck route, delivery route, large vehicles to be able to support the construction process. We're going to have questions later, I'm sure, but this is now going to go into the design portion of the build conditions. So this is the construction portion of it, the sequencing. And the next is about traffic relative to the build condition, which is with GPI.
All right, good evening, everyone. You weren't kidding, that is sensitive. So my name is Rebecca Brown. I'm here from GPI. We're the traffic consultants on the project. And I just want to walk you through a little bit of kind of the existing and proposed circulation that will happen with parent traffic, bus traffic coming through the school site, talk a little bit about some of the improvements that will occur in order to make those traffic patterns work. And then I think we're going to open it up to hear some of your questions and comments after that. So for anyone who has been out here, which I'm sure as you're part of the neighborhood and as abutters,
The majority of you are aware already what the existing traffic patterns are. But if you see on the figure behind me, the blue arrows kind of traveling through the site today, those represent where the existing parents travel through the site. So right now, it's a bit of a free-for-all in the morning. Parents come in through the main driveway from South Street. They also come in through the Abbott Downing driveway. They'll pull up really anywhere that they can. They'll stop in the middle of the roadway to let their kid hop out, and then they'll go back out onto Conant Street. Now, those are the directions that they are supposed to travel, but obviously we know there's a lot of drop-offs that are occurring in the neighborhood. People just pulling over onto the side of Conant Drive, onto Cypress Street, and dropping off their students as well. But in the afternoon, a lot more people do follow where they are supposed to go in terms of entering into the school property through South Street and then coming back out onto Conant Drive to exit. The buses do also enter into that same driveway from South Street, and then there is a median that runs down the middle of the driveway that separates the bus traffic from the parent traffic. The staff, unfortunately, have to mix in with both the bus traffic and the parent traffic right now. So in the future, one of the main goals was to try and separate all of this traffic to make it flow a little bit better so that staff who are trying to get into school in the morning aren't getting mixed in with the parent traffic. The buses can operate efficiently, also not getting mixed in with the parent traffic. So in the future with the proposed school, both the staff and the parent traffic will enter through the main driveway from South Street. But the parents will go from there into their own separate bus loop, or excuse me, not bus loop, parent drop-off loop, where right in front of the school, where they will drop off their student and then be able to pull out into a separate driveway onto Conant Drive.
Whoops.
Not sure what happened, but the screen just went black on me. There we go. The bus traffic, on the other hand, will come in through Noyes Street onto Cornell Street and loop in through their own separate drop-off area in the back of the school, and then come back out onto Cypress Street through Noyes Street to get back to South Street. Now, one of the reasons that this circulation pattern was chosen, and I know there's been some concerns about, well, that's a lot of bus traffic in the neighborhood, can we flip that around? But one of the reasons this was chosen is that with the school being located so far back from South Street, this option really allows us to maximize the distance between the school and South Street for that parent traffic to queue up. And it keeps all that parent traffic out of the neighborhood where there's less control of which roads the parents will take. If we allow them to come in through the neighborhood instead, they could be coming down Cornell Street, they could be coming down Yale, Princeton. We wouldn't have a lot of control over their decisions. And that's also where a lot of the kids are going to be walking. And we don't want to have those parents rushing to work while kids are trying to walk to school. And there is limited ability to stack parent traffic in that area. So if we were to put parents on the back side of the building, they would stack out onto Cornell Street and Noyes Street. So instead, we've proposed having the buses come in that way, and what that does is that really puts trained drivers who are watching specifically for children driving through the neighborhood, and they're on specific controlled routes through the neighborhood, so they can't come down Yale Street and Princeton Street, which aren't constructed to accommodate that type of traffic. So just to quickly kind of cover the parking that is proposed, as you can see from this graphic, there's kind of parking all over the place right now with the existing layout of the school. It kind of runs along both sides of the driveway, so if vehicles are parked in there in the afternoon when people are getting out of school, they're really trapped in there behind the queued traffic until that clears out after school. In the future, there will be really two separate parking areas. One will be located on the north side of the building and have 60 parking spaces dedicated to staff only.
So there won't be visitors coming and going through the neighborhood throughout the day. That parking will be dedicated to staff and assigned to specific staff for that parking. There will also be a large parking lot on the south side of the building that will be kind of on the inside of that parent drop-off loop. And that's where visitor parking and additional staff parking will occur, so that visitors coming to the school are really coming in through that main driveway where there will be signage directing them on where to go, and it won't put that traffic into the neighborhood. And I know I kind of touched on a little bit sort of the queuing and the reasons why we selected the circulation pattern that we did and how it was related to queuing. But this is kind of showing you what the queues look like at afternoon dismissal, which is the worst time for queuing on the site. Right now, there are 19 buses that all queue up in that main drive aisle. There is just barely enough for all 19 of those buses to fit in that area. And once that 19th bus pulls in, they start blocking parents from being able to get into the parent queue. And then parents will park double stacked all along the driveway where there's parking already located on both sides. So it really becomes kind of a stocked area where they're all waiting for students to come out of the school. And because of that double stacking that's occurring, rather than having sort of like a rolling pickup situation, if a certain student takes a little bit longer to get out to the car, then everyone behind them is waiting in that line until that student finally gets in their car and that parent can pull away. So one of the goals with the new circulation was to try and get rid of that situation. So what we have here is sort of a single file line, and the blue area, I know it may be a little difficult to see the color difference here, but the blue area represents the number of cars that we saw stacked on the site during the field visit in existing conditions, and how much area that would fill. And you can see the green area behind that represents how many additional vehicles we could fit in there. So we could actually get an additional 16 vehicles stacked on the site compared to what's out there now with the double stacking pattern. And that gets everybody off of using the Abbott Downing driveway as well, which many people are stacking on that driveway now. But what this also does is it allows all the parents to stack in a single file line against the curb so that the students are not walking in between cars to get into their cars like they do now with the double stacking. And once a child gets into a car, the driver can exit away from the curb, similar to what you would do in a parallel parking space on the street, and continue driving out of the school so that no one is sitting there waiting for that one kid who's taking a little bit longer at the front of the line to get to their car. And with this, it really doesn't matter what time a parent gets to the school. So it takes away that encouragement for people to be that first car in line so that they can get out of there quickly, because they'll have the opportunity to bypass the line rather than sitting there waiting. So one of the things that we also did was look at the existing school zone signage that is out on Conant Street and South Street today, so that we could assess whether or not any of that needed to be upgraded. And you can see from these photos here that there is some pretty deficient equipment out there, although there's some newer signs that do have the radar speed feedback that tell you how fast you're going on the roadway. Those aren't compliant with current design standards. They're posted on utility poles. And along Conant Street, there's really no school zone signage that's posted out there. So we are proposing to upgrade those school zones with new school zone flasher assemblies that will light up with the speed that the driver is going. Once a driver starts going 5 miles an hour or over the speed limit, it will just say slow down. And then we're also proposing to install rectangular rapid flashing beacons at the 2 main crosswalks on South Street on either side of the site driveway. And those really is something that once a pedestrian walks up, they press a button, it starts flashing a signal back and forth to alert drivers that there is a pedestrian waiting to cross. And that helps to facilitate crossing guards too.
so that a crossing guard can activate that button before they step out into the roadway with their placard, as an added benefit and safety measure for those crossing guards as well. And then this is just showing over on Conan Drive, similar type of improvements here, where we've proposed those radar school zone feedback signs. And then the existing crosswalk that is located on Conan Drive just to the east of Wynette Street, upgrading that crosswalk because there are currently no curb ramps there. So adding in those curb ramps to make it ADA accessible, and then installing those RRFBs there as well to alert people that there are pedestrians crossing the roadway there. And then some minor recommendations over on Cornell Street and Cypress Street that are mainly just signage related to reinforce the one-way pattern over there. So currently Cornell Street and Cypress Street are both one-way, circulating in sort of a counterclockwise pattern. But there's limited signage out there to really direct people. So we are proposing to install some new do not enter and one-way signage to help to direct people, particularly as they're coming out of those school driveways, to know which way they're supposed to go on those streets. So those are really the improvements that are being proposed and the circulation patterns that are being proposed. So I think if you guys want to take it, and I think we're going to start going to questions.
Thank you, appreciate it. So the way we're going to go about this is we're going to call by screen. If you have a question, Barb will come to you with the microphone. We're doing it this way because we want to make sure we get the immediate butters to the site, and then from there we'll work out to the general neighborhood, and then from there to the general public of Concord. So when Barb comes to you, just please state your name, where you live on the street, and then go to your question, and from there we'll call on one of our experts to answer it. All right, so with that being said, Springfield Street. Do we have anybody from Springfield Street?
My name is Jeff Smith. I live on 23 Springfield Street. I've been blessed with living at Springfield for 20 years, and 20 years prior to that, I lived on Garden Street, so I've got experience on both of those streets, and I am absolutely dumbfounded by your bus traffic that's going to be storming through those streets, those six or seven streets that have no sidewalks. They have on either side, no sidewalks, except when you get to the last street, it's got a half of one, it's very small. People park their cars outside, it's legal to do that, and they will continue to do that. And believe it or not, they plow Noy Street with snow plows, and those are going to get stacked up. You have cars going through there to cut around McKee Square to go up to the hospital. You have hospital vehicles going through there to get to the hospital. You have police cruisers going through there to avoid things. You have got nothing but traffic there, and you're stuffing 15 to 20 school buses up and down that road every single day for 180 days. I'm dumbfounded. I really am. And I don't usually get dumbfounded. I don't understand what the concept is. I don't understand the safety. Are you going to take crossing guards and put them on the 7 streets up there to make sure the kids can get across that street? Haven't heard anything about that yet. Those houses in those streets, the so-called college streets, are somewhat priced for young families with kids. I raised 5 kids in that house. If I had to worry about buses flying up Noy Street every day, I might have had to give them a ride to school, and it's only 2 blocks. You really need to rethink that. I've heard this presentation 3 times now. It's not getting any better. The roads aren't changing, and your concepts aren't changing, and it's just going to be a heck of a mess out there. I appreciate the fact that parking's an issue. Has been for the 40 years I've been here. That is not the answer to fix your parking situations. It's not going to be safe. God forbid if something happens there, because you've all been warned.
Thank you. Do we have any other residents from Springfield Street? All All right, with that being said, Cypress Street. All right.
Hi, I'm Janet Locatelli. I live on Cypress Street, number 9, 17 years, I think. And I'm with the gentleman here from Springfield Street. I don't understand the concept of having these buses snake through these little streets of the neighborhood. There are other ways to directly get out to the major roads of the, either South Street or Clinton Street. If they could go straight out on Cornell, that seems like a much more direct route. It would hit less of the neighborhood. I think there are much better ways to do this. I understand why we want to put the buses on one side and the parents on the other. That makes total sense to me, but get the buses out of the small neighborhood roads as soon as possible rather than sneaking them through. Doesn't make any sense to me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rebecca, do you want to speak just for a second about the buses coming in on that route? Can we just make sure we get through everybody first, and I'll keep that in mind. I got your name down, I'll get to you another shot.
Big step.
So there seems to be some concern too that buses are going to be using the side streets like Yale and Princeton. I just want to clarify that they will not be allowed to use those streets. They'll only be coming down Noyes, taking a left onto Cornell, and then taking a right into the school. And then when they leave, they'll take the right-hand turn onto Cypress and a right-hand turn onto Noyes Street to get back to South Street. The main reasons that was proposed as the traffic circulation, as I mentioned, is we did want to separate buses and parent traffic to the maximum extent possible. And with that, we've created these 2 separate bus loops, or 2 different loops, one for the parents, one for the buses. The loop at the rear of the building, so the north side of the building, isn't large enough to accommodate all of that parent traffic. If we were to put parents back there, parents would be backed up basically down Noyes Street, the length of sort of this first arrow that you see on Noyes Street, a little bit back past Yale Street. And there has been several comments brought up that the buses are going to block traffic. The buses can all be entirely accommodated on the site itself. So all 19 buses can fit on the site within that loop and wouldn't need to back up onto the street. So one piece of it is just that the buses can fit on the site compared to the parent traffic. Another piece of it is the type of drivers that we're talking about. So bus drivers are highly trained, they have designated routes, they are monitored, so they are not going to be speeding through the neighborhood in comparison to if we were to put parent traffic back there. Many people coming to the school could be unfamiliar with the routes coming through that way. You tend to get people who are coming from all different directions because they don't have a designated route that they have to follow. So you could potentially get a lot of cut-through traffic through those neighborhoods if we were to swap the 2 routes. One of the things that we did have to do as part of the traffic study was taking a look at vehicle turning paths through each of the intersections and along Noyes Street, Cornell Street, and Cypress Street to make sure that the buses can actually make all of those turns. And we did verify that they can make all of those turns safely. The only one place where they couldn't was coming out of Noyes Street, taking a right turn onto South Street. They would just slightly clip the corner there if they were staying in their own travel lane on their own side of the road throughout that entire turn. Because of the number of buses that we have and concerns about potentially buses passing at the same time, we absolutely wanted to make sure that they could stay in their own lane, so we have proposed a slight modification to that curve to make sure that buses can make that movement. All of the other movements throughout that turn, buses can do it, and you can have any locations where you would have buses crossing each other, they can do it safely on their own side of the road, so that bus paths will not overlap. Obviously, we know there's concern about snow. This year, we've had kind of record-breaking snowfall, so we're certainly in a situation of seeing a worst-case scenario. But one thing that is beneficial is that there is very little space on these roads where buses do actually need to pass each other going in opposite directions. And that's really on the section of Noyes Street between Cypress Street and South Street. That's the only location where they need to cross, and that is also the widest section of pavement in that area. Even right now with the snowfall as it is, there is at least 20 feet, or I should say, 2 weeks ago when we had crazy snow out there was at least 20 feet. Now everything's melted of width there, which is plenty enough for buses to be able to pass each other in that area. So we really don't have concerns that there's going to be, buses passing each other. We hear the concern about pedestrians. That is the next piece about it, and that there's going to be pedestrians on the roadway with these buses coming through. But I will say that although there are now going to be buses which are larger than, car vehicles that are going through, there are already a very high number today of vehicles, school traffic that is coming through this neighborhood. And overall, we're going to be significantly reducing down that number. Because right now, with the way the existing pattern works, you can see on this figure that there is existing parking for staff at the back of the building. Staff do also park all along the south side of Cypress Street right now, where in the future they would all be able to be accommodated on the site itself. So that would take a lot of that on-street parking that's out there away and add space that would be available to put in a sidewalk. And you can see from this plan here, that there is a sidewalk proposed along the south side of Cypress Street. I know I didn't mention that in my presentation, but there is a sidewalk proposed on the south side of Cypress Street that would allow students to walk in that area as well. One of the recommendations in our traffic study is also to add sidewalk on Noyes Street. That was in the city's own pedestrian master plan from back in 2021. It was at that time fairly low on their agenda or on their priority list. We think with this project and the access that's being proposed, that should really rise more to the top of the priority list. Although not included in this presentation, we have put together some plans that show what that sidewalk could look like in the future, and that does fit within the existing right-of-way out there along Noyes Street. And with that, there would be also crosswalks added at each of the side streets to be able to get kids across each of those side streets as well. They would all remain on the sidewalk on the north side, kind of funnel their way down to the Cornell Street intersection and cross at that location, cross Noyes Street at that location to get to Cornell Street. So I don't know if there's anything else you wanted me to address related to that, or if that kind of...
Others for Cypress Street? We have one back there, then we'll have Barbara come to you.
My name is Jean Cousin. I live at 5 Cypress Street. Excuse me.
Barbara, hold on 1 second. Let's swap microphones because I can be loud.
Oh, I can be louder.
This will help people save their voice.
I didn't know what you were doing. Sorry. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
I actually submitted an alternate proposal to the school board. Yeah. So I'd just like to say a few words about that. I really, like with most people here, do not understand the need to send buses through neighborhoods, any neighborhood. Excuse me. And if we look back at the map, you can see that the buses go in, they take the cars right now. The proposal is for parents to go in and loop around and then go out Coney. Excuse me. This is an old lady voice. Yeah. Okay, so they go in and they loop around that parking area, that 130 space parking area, and then they come out onto Coney. What I'm suggesting is that you reverse or invert the parking. So no staff parks in the back. They park in the 130 space parking lot. So that parking lot in the back, 60 spaces, could be for parents dropping off their kids. They're not idling, they're not queuing, they're just there. And no, okay, and then they would come out on the side of the building. They could go either to Conant or on that loop, back to South Street. Excuse me. No bus traffic, no parking, no traffic in the back of the school, right near the school. The kids come out the back, they go to the parking lot. There's no traffic at all. 60 spaces there. I understand that sometimes there are more cars. Well, they also leave, so there'd be space. They might back up a little bit. You know, I don't know about that. I did come one day and I didn't see 100 cars. I saw 40. So that 60 space parking lot could be for parents dropping off the kids, picking up the kids. The buses come around, do a loop, and just extend that loop right back to South Street. They're going to South Street anyway. Right now, they end up on South Street, right from Conant. They end up on South Street. So they just do a loop back. This space, right now it's a divided roadway. The space for buses coming in, buses going out. I'm sorry. This was, what else? Yeah, well, then I had another thought. That a lot of parents people want to go fast. They want to get home as soon as possible. So what I'm thinking of doing, that parking lot would be one way, okay? They come in on noise, they go out on the side of the school, could go to Clinton or could go to South. And what I'm thinking is, they're not going to go into the parking lot. They're going to all park along Cypress Street and get out that way, right? So I'm thinking, no through way that way. You've got to come out this way. One-way parking lot and out. Does that make sense?
Did you say you did submit this proposal?
Yeah, she sent it in.
Yeah. Okay. And that's something, we have some building committees, meetings coming up. We definitely take a look at that and report back out.
Great. I mean, get those buses out of the neighborhoods.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cypress Street, right? Yep.
Catherine Cheney, 3 Cypress. And what is concerning me about this upgrade is that there is a definite consequence, and you've seen the consequence of the design as it currently is, what we have in place right now. You talk about the queuing and going in between cars and everything, but there is a very big impact to this change. And part of it is going to be just the neighborhood in of itself. The fact that when you walk down Cypress, Noyes, Cornell, any of these side streets, you'll see families with 3 or 4 children. Some of them are just on like boards and they're pushing themselves with their hands and everything. I know that that's considered not safe. They are with their parents. Everyone on that street goes like 10, maybe 15 miles per hour. We are all so conscious of what goes on those streets. Putting a sidewalk, consequence about watershed. Right now, everybody parks on the sides of those streets. Those buses are gonna have to weave in and out. All of that's gonna be, changed. Think of those consequences. And the other thing I looked at is, if you look at the angle of that road, I turn up from Cypress to Noyes a lot, and go to down Allison. In the morning and in the evening, there is quite a lot of glare. But one of the biggest considerations, you talked about the turning radius going right off of Noyes. Going left, and the traffic that comes in and out of there anyway, at any time of day with the commuters, is very tough. So going left or right. I think that's about all that I have to say about this, but you have to realize that the consequence of just the things you addressed are very far-reaching, where you know the existing situation, and to re-engineer that design that is existing, and using some of Jean's input and other neighbors' input to try and get this traffic back out on South Street as fast as you can, in through this loop, and get the traffic going. Even if you say that parents can park on this side and then pull out and pull forward, kids will be going in and out of that traffic too. The kids are more safe coming in and out of there than having to go through that bus. And the neighborhood and the environment will be impacted a lot if you start putting in curbs, having people park, to not be allowed to park, and to have the pedestrian traffic impacted. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others for cyclists? Common Drive. Do you have any residents on the drive?
Hi, I'm Deborah Longley. I'm on 29 Common Drive. So my driveway, Springfield Street dead ends at my driveway. And I can tell you now that maybe 50% of the people actually stop at those stop signs. And I'm looking at, and I'm sorry, I haven't been able to be at other meetings, but I'm looking at how this is laid out here. And there's a lot of traffic that's dumping onto Conan. And I don't know that that's bad, except that nothing's being followed now. I mean, that people are walking and we have sidewalks there, but people are not stopping at the stop signs. And I'm thinking if there's more traffic, I mean, right now people park along Conan because of the sports field, and I know that's going to be different. I guess I'm just thinking, anyway, that's my concern, is that area and the flow of traffic there.
Thank you. Others for Conan Drive? South Street. Any residents South Street? Noyes Street? Oh wait, South Street? I'm sorry.
I'm Claire Howard Pike. I live at 134 South Street, which is not too far from the current Rundle entrance. I guess my question is, and I just don't know the answer, is on Noyes Street, is there on-street parking allowed? And with this proposed bus route, is there going to be no parking allowed on Noyes Street during certain hours or at all? How is that going to be impacted?
Those answer to that.
First after she has to be parking allowed in Noyes Street. You got it.
So there is currently parking allowed on Noyes Street, which is consistent citywide for the most part.
Rebecca, do you happen to know that answer based on the traffic study, if we would have to propose any changes to parking during the day for school hours?
So with what's being proposed right now, we're not proposing any changes to the parking that is occurring on Noyes Street. I think it would really take some monitoring in the future to see whether or not it becomes an issue. But what we see right now happening on Noyes Street is a lot of staggered parking. So you'll see one car parked on the south side, and then a few hundred feet down the road, there might be a car parked on the north side. With the staggered way that the buses will arrive and come through here, we anticipate that as buses are coming through, similar to the way the traffic operates now, buses, you can see pretty much all the way down that road. So as soon as you turn from South Street onto Noyes Street, you can see all the way down to Cornell Street. So if, as the buses are coming in, they see a vehicle that's pulled onto the side of the road, there's a bus coming the other way, they will have that opportunity to kind of, one person stop, let the bus go by, the other one goes on around it. In the future, should a sidewalk be constructed on the north side, then that would limit the ability to park on the north side. So then we would only recommend having parking on the south side of the street in that situation, because otherwise it would push that vehicle into the roadway, essentially completely blocking off the westbound travel lane. So right now people are kind of pulling off onto the grass a little bit, and they wouldn't be able to do that once a sidewalk with a curb was put into place.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Any other questions from South Street residents?
I didn't know South 47.
Get 19,000 steps.
Hi, my name is Bob Wolf. I've lived on South Street for 50 years, about 5 houses down from Noyes Street. A couple of things. He and his mom, my sister-in-law, who's 83 years old, live right on the end of Noyes Street in the cul-de-sac. And those 19 buses that are going to be idling with their diesel engines back right up to her back deck. So I don't think there's a lot of airflow there, and it's awful close, and it's not going to smell real good. It'll be real healthy for the people whose backyards are that close to those 19 buses that are queuing up there in the back. The other thing is, I think when this parking plan, or the parking and bus plan was presented to the Concord Planning Board, they were rather shocked by everything that was in it. And their conclusion, which is non-binding, you can do what you want, it's non-binding, but their conclusion was to send it back to the traffic engineers that the school board hired and have it redone. Now, they can't force you to do that, but that was what after they digested it and made many, many pages of corrections and suggestions, they said unequivocally, you need to go back and redo this. So that's just a comment.
Thank you. Other residents, South Street? No, from Noyes Street. Residents of Noyes Street? Barbara?
Hi there, my name is April Zabo. I'm at 65 Noyes at the end of the cul-de-sac with the 12-foot skeleton and the pink dog, and I apologize for both of those. Building on the prior comment, there was a note in I think it was the planning board study that talked about a proposed 4-foot, I think, chain link fence between what will be staff parking and the homes on Noyes Street. And I think the planning study commented that was not sufficient according to whatever the current standards are, and they instead recommended a 6-foot solid fence, which I would appreciate because the parking lot is going in our backyard. But I also had a question for Harvey Construction, and that was just with regards to start and stop time of construction each day, because I work from home or will until April 26th.
So we would follow the ordinances, let's see, at Concord for work hours. Typically they're 7 to 7. I'm not sure if that's exactly what they are right now, but obviously in the summer months, our workers want to take full advantage of the sun that we don't get so much that we just came out of the season. But we would follow the Concord's ordinances for that. We're not going to ask for any extras. That's not the way we go about it. So I would say a 7 to 7 is probably a good slot right now, just to have in the back of your mind relative to that activity. But that doesn't mean it's hammering and pounding and noisy, so to speak, during those 12 hours, or any workday for that matter. So again, follow the ordinance, we're going to do that, we're not going to ask for anything special, and we're going to be as courteous as we can be while building a building.
Thank you. Other residents in Noyes Street? Over there, this gentleman.
Hi, my name is Don. I live at 14 Noyes Street, so I get the added benefit of both buses going up and down. So my concern is just that, I think many of us here, just how well this has been thought through with a neighborhood that is, with roads that are as tightly packed. For instance, coming out of Noyes Street, I assume most of those buses would make a left-hand turn. And I can see them backing up because the left-hand turn onto South Street at those hours is pretty problematic. As I look at this design, it seems like there could be room to do a bus loop around the athletic fields, coming in one side of the athletic fields and coming out the other side of the athletic fields. Just as a suggestion, I applaud the effort to separate buses and drop-offs. That makes a lot of sense, and I've seen that mess there. But I don't think the solution is to try to cram it into a neighborhood that already has a fair number of traffic issues. I think a 50% stop rate at that one stop sign was actually pretty good. I don't see anything close to that at the end of Cypress Street. And then I guess just to address the snow issue, this was just a normal snow year. This was not an extraordinary snow year. So if it just barely was enough room this year, at some point we're going to have more snow. And I just see a lot of problems with all of that. So I throw that out as a suggestion to look at possibly a loop around the athletic fields that would take it out onto South Street both ways, both in and out, and keep it out of all the neighborhoods, both on the Conant side and on the Noyes Street side. Thank you.
We had a couple over here who are from Noyes.
Hi, my name's Becky, and I live, or have the misfortune, I guess, to live at the corner of Noyes and Cypress. So 21 Noyes Street, and Rebecca Brown even mentioned the bushes in my yard in the presentation that was taped online that I listened to. Like everybody else, I have huge concerns about traffic in our small neighborhood. We're a small historic neighborhood. People walk it all the time, there are kids there all the time, and it's just not designed for school buses and a lot of traffic. If Harvard and the other streets aren't designed for that, neither is Noyes Street. So I really feel like everybody else, it's a major problem routing traffic in that way. And there are definitely safety concerns in winter, etc. I did take some pictures, I put together illustrations of some of the concerns, and I'd like to be able to give that to whoever is appropriate.
If you give those to Barb, we can make sure we get them to the building committee.
That would be great. And I hope that you will seriously consider changing the route of all traffic. I think John's idea comes from a very good end goal.
Thank you. I thought I saw a third hand there from Noyes.
I'm Linda Zolo. I am neighbors to Becky and Don, and I agree with basically everything that's been said today, Mr. Smith. I feel like building I live at 15 Noyes Street, and that, again, Don is the section that is primarily impacted by 19 buses going in and out twice a day. And as everyone said, it's a neighborhood, walkable area with no sidewalks. And to add a sidewalk will be further reducing the street. And already I can barely envision 2 buses going down that street. And in the morning, when people are backed up waiting to turn onto South Street, I can only envision all of those buses backed up. I know the planner was worried about all the cars that would be backed up, but to have those buses idling there, trying to get across that street and make the turn while others are, we have people coming through from Bow off of South Street, doing the cut through to the various streets, and I guess Noyes Street is not a throwaway, and it may resolve the planner's difficulties and challenges, but it's really not a throwaway. So I hope you think about that.
Thank you. Any other residents in Noyes Street?
Hi, my name is Deborah, and I live at 11 Louis Street, and I've lived there for 37 years. So my first point of concern is the street, as it is right now, is extremely busy. People cut through it all of the time. The hospital, the school, going to the high school, anything they can do to avoid McKee Square, they're cutting down our street. And again, not to beat a dead horse, but there are no sidewalks. So when it's a very busy pedestrian-filled street, people are constantly walking. Small, people with small children, people with their dogs, the elderly, they are walking our streets. And there is essentially no place for them to go when the cars are zipping up and down our road to get out onto Clinton Street and not have to wait at the lights at McKee Square. And our houses in the area are basically right on the street. I just had my water valve replaced maybe 2 years ago now, and it's basically 4 feet off of the main road. So to even think that the road could be widened a bit to add sidewalks is kind of unreasonable. And even where the culvert passes right down at the little hill that the buses are gonna have to wait on in the icy weather to make the left out onto Noyes Street, the guardrail for that culvert is right there. You can't extend the road. The road is right up to the guardrail. So there couldn't be a sidewalk there. You couldn't extend that part of the road to make a sidewalk. And the point that many people park their cars in the street, and they're going to park their cars in the street, as is their right. And already, as it's been stated, you have to wait, if one person can go by. So if the line of buses is going to be the whole length, they're not even going to be able to come out of Cypress Street and come onto Noyes Street. That's how long the buses are going to be waiting to make the left to go out onto South Street. Plus the cars where the families park, and they need to park in the street because their driveways are so short. The family members are coming and going to work. The cars have to be in a certain order in the driveways. So you park in the street and wait for this person to leave, then you can pull that car back in the driveway. That happens up and down the street. And plus, when other things happen, the snow, the trash, road work, utility work trucks parked on the street for people who are having stuff done on their house, that's all going to impact. Those people are all parked in the street. And again, the distances between the houses and driveways is quite small. So if you're trapped in your driveway because you can't back out because the cars and the buses are all lined up and down the street, we need to be able to leave our houses to go to work in the morning. That's not going to be acceptable. And again, I can only emphasize what an extremely dangerous situation that would be created between the parked cars, waiting buses, the walking pedestrians with their dogs, young children, strollers, bicycles, the elderly, cars parked in the street, the cars zipping and down to avoid McKee Square, and the residents leaving and coming home. And the visibility, how could you back out of your driveway if there's a bus on both sides of you? How could you even if you wanted to pull out of your driveway?
I apologize.
You wouldn't be able to do that.
3 minutes are up. Would we be able to take that? Would you be willing to submit that so we have your notes? And I apologize, we just gotta keep it moving to make sure we give everybody an opportunity. Norwood, any others from Noyes Street before? Norwood Street, any residents in Norwood Street? Right?
Bert Cooper, 27 Norwood Street. To prepare for today, I took a quick look at the traffic reports. My problem with some of the traffic reports, we get multiple reports with the same title and empty fields, so it's really hard to know what exactly you're trying to report. Where's the traffic person? You have identical reports labeled. I mean, you have reports labeled identically with empty fields. It's difficult to understand what stuff is on, what is on one report versus what's on another. It includes the pedestrian counts, etc. There are no pedestrian counts for Norwood Street, I guess because it's too far away. What I would say is, in looking at the traffic reports, the sightlines were addressed for the driveways for the project, but they weren't addressed for noise. Noise is at an angle to South Street, going uphill. And I think this is mentioned at the planning board. I wasn't there, but probably mentioned at the planning board meeting. So that has, winter consequences, but also visibility consequences. The sight lines are much reduced for pulling out onto South Street. Norwood Street, 90-degree angle. The traffic report mentions that the buses go up Norwood Street right now. Why do the buses go up Norwood Street right now, according to the traffic report? Because Norwood Street has sidewalks, Springfield doesn't. That's why the buses go up Norwood Street, among other things. So I think that that's something that needs to be considered, route the buses through Abbott Downing and then have, a traffic control between the parent traffic and the bus traffic. The other thing is the school was built for 1,200 students. Now we're talking about roughly 750, 900 if population grows. I'm still trying to figure out why we're up to 19 buses. I don't want kids to be riding the bus all day, but I also think we're in the middle of a global climate crisis, and one would like to know what the school, what the city is doing to reduce vehicle trips to the school. Are we doing anything to carpool? Are we doing anything to carpool with staff? Are we doing anything to carpool with parents? Are we telling parents, if you live too close, we really don't want you to be driving to school? I don't know what efforts have been made in that regard. I think that is something we really want to think about. And finally, I think we also need to think about relative danger, right? I don't know what the average age of a school bus driver is today. They may be graying, I don't know. But to say that they're really skilled drivers, I'm sure they are. But I don't think we want to have, all these crossings. If you can just look up there, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. You've got those streets feeding into noise, pedestrians walking up the street, many fewer for the buses going out to Norwood Street, right? So I think your relative danger is less if you have those buses still go out Norwood Street and you just have better control about parents letting their kids out early, or are the buses, kids crossing bus lines or something like that. I think that's the point to control, and not to try and rattle through that little bit.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Norwood Street, one.
Hi, I'm Paula Biashon. The only thing I would mention is how many people go use our street, not only just Noyes, but Norwood Street coming up Wilson, and they fly down Wilson and down Norwood Street. And I think somehow or other there's got to be something addressed to that, because there's going to be more people, I think, coming down that way to avoid some of the other traffic. And I noticed just because my route home, if I've been uptown, is coming up Allison or Pillsbury, and you get to South Street, or even to also Broadway, but South Street particularly, and the people just fly down through there. They don't really slow down at all. So I don't know if there needs to be a little mitigation along South Street and other places.
Thank you. Any other residents of Norwich? Thank you, Bob.
Hi, I'm Jim Cuthbert. I live at 30 Norwood Street, and I'd like to, what Mrs. Vashon had to say, I can confirm. There's a lot of flying traffic that comes through there. But as a dog walker in the south end, the amount of traffic coming down Cypress Street from parent traffic is incredible. And when it's like this time of year and it's dark and they're flying down there, I wholeheartedly agree with separating the traffic from the buses to the cars, because I don't know, maybe bus drivers are better. I can't make that, I can't confirm that myself, but I know parents, and they like to fly, and when they pick their kid up and they come flying down that north Cypress Street. So I think buses might be safer, honestly. That's about all I got to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other for Norwich? Cornell Street? Any residents of Cornell Street? Runlet Street? Any residents of Runlet Street?
Turn Sunday.
23 Runlet Street. The big construction thing is, are they going to come before or after the school buses? And how about holidays, Monday holidays, Thursday holidays, Friday holidays?
So, not being snark, but yes, it'll either be before or after buses, but it will be orchestrated with them. That is part of our plan. Those delivery or drop-off and pick-up times were provided to us. That's a daily routine that our field staff manages with the faculty and staff of the schools, the surrounding schools. So the short answer is it's coordinated. It could be before, depending on what it might be. We might want to take advantage of a 7 o'clock delivery before the buses show up. And then as far as holidays, we follow the normal federal holidays. I think there's 8 that are in our calendar, or 9 that are in our calendar, but essentially holidays are days that we will take off as well. So it's an appropriate thing for our staff and our job sites. There's exceptions to those on every job. If there's a makeup day we need to take advantage of, there might be things like that we would want to take advantage of, but that's going to be communicated. Again, our field staff is highly trained in communicating these types of things with the staff, and that staff would communicate out to the community.
School vacation wouldn't interrupt you, right? Okay, just checking.
We don't have school vacation.
I don't.
Any others for Runlet Street? Wilson Ave? Any residents of Wilson Ave? Other side streets that are in the neighborhood I haven't called in? So your hand go up first.
Hi, I'm Mary McAvoy there, 8 Wynand Street. So I get traffic already, but I'm going to shoot myself in the foot here Because you're talking about 19 buses in and out. There are buses at that school all the time. Weekends, they have all kinds of tournaments and games and things going on. There are buses from out of town, buses from out of state that would be coming in and out. And that it's a very, very busy parking lot, school driveway. So 19 buses sounds, okay. That's 19 buses in the morning, 19 buses out at night. You're not looking at the Saturdays, the Sundays. So I'm saying keep it out. It's going to still come back to me because I'm getting all that traffic. But you're not seeing all that weekend traffic and nighttime traffic that is there all the time.
I appreciate it. So,
Hi, my name is Karen, and I live on 4 Harvard Street, and I just have some concerns about, to get onto our college streets, and you're coming down Clinton, you cannot take a left-hand turn onto our streets. We have to go around Noise to get back onto our streets. And I'm concerned about the buses lined up with a fire truck trying to get onto Noise Street, an ambulance. We're starting an automated trash program in our neighborhood this June, I believe. And the city said that we have to have our barrels 2 feet apart on the street. We can't just put them in our, on our lawn anymore because it's a machine. So I just feel that this hasn't been fully flushed out, and I have some concerns. Thank you.
appreciate it.
Hi, Ian McGregor. I'm on 7 Sunset Avenue, so it's just, it should be Wilson Street continuing through. But I wanted to say that separating the buses and the parent traffic is very happy to see it. Where I personally don't own a vehicle, a car, so I am the guy riding his bike around town. My kids used to go to school at Woodside on Fruit Street, and coming through Cornell and cutting through the middle school there, it like on the weekends or when there was a tournament going on, it's chaos. When there were soccer tournaments with 15 different teams from 12 different towns, the parents would be everywhere, the kids would be everywhere, so having a dedicated parking space there is fantastic. I think that's a big improvement, but also more importantly is getting all of the athletic practice, because football season is a whole other can of worms, and we've got, kids who are driving themselves, pulling on and off, and parents doing pickup, and they're just right on Conant Street. So I really like this traffic plan that you've got. And I would also like to say that I'm a member of the Transportation Policy Advisory Council Committee here in Concord. So anybody that has comments, concerns, bring them to the school board, but bring them to the TPAC as well. And we can talk about them with City Council and the traffic engineers for the city to work on improvements to neighborhood streets. But my question is regarding bicycle circulation and bicycle parking.
Bicycle parking on the site? We would have recommend to town.
We do have bicycle parking on the site. It is on kind of the north side of the site. You see there's raised square on the north side, on the top part of the building. There is bicycle parking. It's not a good count, but it's
And I don't know about any additions to like bicycle lanes or anything of that nature at this time, but any other general, the neighborhood in the general area? Right.
Ulrich Garkey on 3 Cypress, we're back on Cypress again.
The stretch between Cypress Street and South Street, Noyes Street, is seeing 19 buses go one way in the morning, then come back again. That's another 19, and in the afternoon, 19 and 19. So it isn't 19 buses, it's 78 buses, 76 buses every day in that stretch there that people have to endure. Just so you guys get the numbers right. In the existing, it's maybe 38 coming in off South Street and then dispersing through other streets the other direction. But it's all going to be concentrated, 76 buses a day on Noyes Street.
Thanks. Oh, it is really loud. I live on Harvard Street. Oh, the driveway's on Harvard Street. I'm on the corner of Clinton and Harvard. And I appreciate the opportunity to go through these things on both sides or all sides. And thank you. Just to start, I wanted to find out, because I didn't quite hear in the beginning, what happens with our feedback?
So right now, we'll gather information, we'll take the questions back if we're not able to answer them. But we have a building committee that will be probably going through this stuff. And at some point in time, we'll report back out our building committee meetings.
And does that report to the planning commission?
To the planning commission, it reports to the school board. The school board is not part of the city government.
So how do we know what happens with our feedback?
We'll report back out at the building committee, we'll report back out at the board.
To the school?
Yep.
And then how will we find out?
Put it on the
Yeah.
district website, put a page dedicated to the building, so it would all be there.
We would have it in school board. If you went to our website, you would have the school board meeting minutes, building committee meeting minutes, but also we have a web page dedicated to the middle school project. I would imagine we would post it there as well. And we should have some sort of a summary for this abutters meeting tonight as well.
Thank you for the answer to that. I'm sorry, I get nervous. I get nervous at meetings, so I'm shaking. So I did hear one comment that has been on my mind for quite a while now, which is that the planning commission had made it abundantly clear, and I was at the meeting, that another traffic study is needed, or that they feel it is. And I didn't know if there's any progress on that yet.
I don't have that answer for you. I know there were components in the application.
So yeah, we've received a ton of feedback between the building committee meeting, the planning board meeting, tonight's neighborhood meeting. All of that information is being compiled, and we are in the process. We've already done a lot of updates to the original traffic study that was out before the planning board meeting to incorporate the comments that we've heard to date. We will be doing additional revisions of that study based on the comments that we've heard here tonight, and providing a finalized traffic study that will incorporate the changes that have come out of the comments that we have received. And I assume that that will be publicly available on the website as well. So there will be an updated traffic study coming your way that includes all of these comments.
That sounds like a lot of work that's been done, and certainly worthy. As far as I understand the study, if I'm right, the study was requested to have been worked on by the city. Am I right about that? Okay, so my understanding was that the city was going to be requested to actually do the next study. But maybe am I wrong about that?
Well, where it is a school district project, it would be on the school district to do that study, not the city. So we would work with the city and get feedback on any changes we're doing to the plan, and we take their feedback into consideration, but the study itself would fall on the responsibility of the school district, not the city of Concord.
The no turning signage that my neighbor had mentioned earlier really does pose an issue, because it means that if I'm traveling from the direction of Dunbarton towards McKee Square on Clinton Street, I think that there's going to be a problem getting home.
Yeah, you'd have to understand what you're saying.
And I'm not the only one who has that problem. It's actually, if you could put the map, could you put the map back up?
Unfortunately, can I ask you to submit the rest of your concerns, just because I want to make sure I give other people an opportunity?
Okay.
All right.
Well, I'll just say that everybody on a college street that has a no turn sign, and there's a few. Is there 5? 7? With 7 no turn signs?
Plus Cypress, you can't right there, right without going around either.
Okay. So there is that. The other point I wanted to make was that Jean had a good proposed design over who lives on Cypress. And I have difficulty actually, because it's not on a picture, it's not in a map yet, it's hard just for me to totally get the whole thing. But it's worth doing that, and I didn't know if there was some way that Jean could make an appointment with your mapper, with your traffic person, and give her some time to sit down and look at Jean's idea. Would that be something you could do?
We could coordinate, if he's available, come over to the SAU with sketches and suggestions. The traffic person would have to go to the site.
So you could map that for us?
Yeah, and I just wanted to.
I would want to see it.
So we've actually had a ton of ideas, everybody has ideas, right? So we've got the law that we have to comply with, we have the design with a fairly small footprint, we have a lot of neighbors contacting us, and so I want to make sure that everybody feels like they have a pathway to being heard. We have a building committee, we have ideas coming in, we have direct contact with the people who can work on the design. So we are very excited to have you submit that information to us. But it's all going to get compiled so that we can make good decisions. So Jean's idea is awesome. It's also one of many ideas that are coming in. So part of the community meeting is addressing the concerns, the questions, and we're going to take all that into consideration as a board. Does that make sense?
Yep. Well, I think Mr. Smith wanted the last one. You can second that.
Hi, I'm Ryan Brewer. I live at what we own 23 Cohen Drive. So everything dumps out of right now, Cohen and Walnut. If you didn't stop, you'd go right into the front door of the house. Having some time to look at this map, and it looks as if number 6 is the only drop-off pickup for the buses at the front of the building. That's it. So can you also point to number 9, where they have the
service entrance?
Service entrance. Just thinking in a kind of a round trip mode, so you're not going on Cypress twice or Noise twice, because I was driving there yesterday, and one car was stopped on the side of the road, and that prohibited anybody else getting by without one person waiting, the other going, and then the other going. So I don't know how that happened, or even someone mentioned the trash trucks, and a bus getting by, and that sort of thing. What would be the possibility of continuing west? So you're headed towards Springfield, and then there is that, what do you call it, the side road that would be going from north to south back towards Conant. The access road, and just have folks drop off at that spot that's designated number 6, continue to the left, come down the access road, and come out on Conant Drive, and then the buses can come and go from there, and you're not having crossing traffic of the buses that are coming out of Cypress and Noise, or all the problems that are potential of coming up Noise and trying to get out on Center Street. Just a thought.
Thank you. Others before I give Mr. Smith back the microphone?
I'm giving Mr. Smith.
Yeah. All right.
Let's get clear.
I heard a couple times tonight that there may be some sidewalks. Most of those streets that you're talking about, if they're going to take sidewalks, they're taking your land and my land. There's not space there. There's not public space there to take and make sidewalks unless they take our property, which I think they can probably do because they can probably go in 15 feet. But they're not going to change the tax rate. You're still going to get taxed for that whole piece of land. So be careful about taking that. Second thing, I've heard the woman in the dark right in front of me here, I've heard her say 3 times, twice here and once in the city hall, that, oh God, no, I forgot what I was going to say. This is what you get. Well, let's skip to this one then. If you, the gentleman who's offered up the idea of going into the entryway from South Street, and taking a hard right after the tree line, and following in behind those athletic fields, and then jumping back on beyond the school, makes a lot of sense. Now, you have to be careful about that because you're going to have to knock down part of the other school first before you can take that street and go in there. Third thing, again, you've mentioned several times that we have trained bus drivers, which I am thrilled to have, especially after the woman who was driving over in Keene a few weeks ago and the bus caught on fire and she got all the kids out. Who's going to train the kids how to walk along those small streets, cross streets, and don't forget, it's not just Runlet kids. It's not Conan anymore, is it? Abbott Downing. It's Abbott Downing as well. So there's a lot of kids going that way. And so if you're going to, if the bus drivers are trained, the kids need to be trained. And the last one's for Matt. Matt, do you have a telephone number for the company that the white bus drives for?
I do.
Because that white, his bus doesn't start until it goes 35. Every day, both ways. So I would like to have his number so I can give his boss a call. Okay? Thanks.
Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. We appreciate the feedback, and as we said, this will be brought back to our building committee. We'll organize it, share it, and have an opportunity to report back out any changes that come from this.